You're listening to The Streaming Wars, the podcast that discusses all of the latest happenings regarding your favorite streaming services. Find out which service is winning the war this time around.
Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of The Streaming Wars. I am Dustin and Tony is with me, and we are here to discuss everything from March 25th through the 31st. As the last couple of weeks we've been talking about COVID and streaming, I can tell you that with certainty, while we have some little topics here or there that we'll discuss, that we do have a bunch of other things to discuss this time around, because as suspected over the past couple episodes, we have less and less news. So we're getting to a topic that we wanted to discuss that was requested by a listener who sent in an email. We're going to be talking about that. We have a secondary discussion as well, and I imagine we should have time to get to that as well, because like I said, there's not a ton of news. So as far as news does go, starting off with Netflix. Netflix has ordered an Angry Birds animated series. And before you say to yourself, wait, my kids are already watching an Angry Birds animated series, it's actually an animated series that is based off of the Angry Birds films, not the video game simple animation style that they had in the past before the movies released. So there's that. Dragon's Lair, which is a video game from the 80s, which was heavily featured in Stranger Things Season 2. There's an adaptation of that video game in the works with Ryan Reynolds potentially attached to star in it and produce. There's also a new travel show hosted by Sue Perkins, that is currently in the works as well. There is no Prime Video news, no Hulu news. As far as CBS All Access, CBS All Access is currently offering 1 free month of service for anybody who's signing up. Conveniently, that means that if you have yet to check out Picard, or if you're on the fence about it, you can actually binge the entire season, because it is the first season just wrapped up. So you can watch the entire season of Picard within your free month that you have. And there's a couple of new series. I know The Good Fight, which is another one of the mainstays at CBS All Access, that's launching in April and returning with their 4th season, so you could technically binge all of the first 3 seasons and then go and start watching season 4. But a free month is a big deal, because not a lot of services are offering free months. Most of them only offer 7 days. So
how do you feel about the CBS All Access free offering? I know that there are many times that you brought up how you're a little bit skeptical of free trials given services that either launch with their full product automatically, or they do it like a Netflix style, like binge dumping of their whole entire seasons. I know that it's the reason why you mentioned before that you like Disney Plus's model of the weekly releases versus like Netflix is dropping it all at once, because you don't kind of watch everything in that free trial. But given 1 month of free access to the service, I get everything that's happening with COVID and people are staying at home, and it's from a streaming side, it's kind of a great opportunity to get people used to your service because they're going to be home watching it all the time. But 1 month just seems pretty long. How do you feel about that, given kind of your stance on viewing and viewership and stuff like that?
Yeah, so to be clear, my stance on free trials is I can see it as I don't hate them completely. I see them as a great marketing opportunity for the services. Regardless of what the service is, the marketing opportunity is there. You present a free trial. There are people who are definitely going to sign up because of the free trial, test it out, like it, and they're going to sign up for it permanently. Because let's be honest, even though you're signing up for the trial, they always require your credit card ahead of time, so you might forget, and then you still get charged for it. But the point is, from a marketing standpoint, it makes perfect sense to offer free trials. However, from a business standpoint, you're always going to have a loss when it comes to offering the trials, because you just have to chalk it up to it's a cost of marketing and a cost of doing business, because there are certainly people who are going to sign up, use a free trial to binge something that they want to see, and they're going to try to do it before they have the time off. When you look at a situation that is currently happening where there's lots of people within their homes throughout the day, they have way more time than they typically do, offering a free extended trial, I can only see it as a marketing situation yet again. Obviously, it's great on them for doing it. There are other services, not services, but there are other companies who are offering content free for, specific things. We talked about last week, Amazon was offering free kids content specifically through Prime Video. You don't have to have a subscription. You just need to sign up or you just need to use an email that you have logged, that you have registered with Amazon. They have other ones. AT&T was making premium content available to their subscribers. I think honestly, it's all a marketing thing. We talked about how, Apple was doing the Oprah show last week with her discussing everything happening with COVID-19. It's all marketing. I hate to say it. And, you were the person who were bringing the attention full circle when it came to the Apple stuff with the Oprah show. But I honestly believe that it's all just a marketing thing. CBS All Access is not a huge player. They've definitely been around for a long time. They have great numbers for how long they've been around and for the amount of content that they do offer on a normal basis, but they're not huge. This is a perfect opportunity for them to offer a free trial. People are going to see 1 month and think, I'm home for the next month. Let me check this out. And they'll start binging different shows, and they'll start to see that there's shows on the service that they might be interested in. And then that might make them a subscriber. It might not. And that's, like I said before, it's just the cost of marketing. But really, it just is. These trials are always a marketing tactic to get people to sign up for a short amount of time. And while there are certainly going to be people who sign up for the short time and then immediately deactivate it before they get charged, there's lots more people who probably stick around once they realize what is available on there. And CBS All Access they've been around long enough where they have like multiple seasons of shows. Like I said, The Good Fight is going into season 4.
Star Trek Discovery's got 2 seasons.
Yeah, and then you've got the
third.
And there's tons of new shows that they're coming with too. Yeah. So I mean, like, there's lots of content that they have. Plus, they have a consistent rotation of movies that they offer. They have all kinds of kids content that we just talked about. They launched a ton of kids content back in January. So I mean, like, if you can get someone to just use the service and check it out, that by itself is the opportunity for you to say, hey, look, what we have to offer. And if it works for the person who's checking it out, they're going to subscribe long term. And that's exactly what they're looking for. I've seen multiple reports and articles talking about how streaming as a whole is huge on the rise right now because of everything going on with people stuck in their homes right now. And that's expected. But more specifically, I bet that the subscriber numbers are not only going to be up, but they're going to stay at those points after everything goes back to, a normalcy situation, because I honestly believe that people are going to be using these streaming services more than usual, realize how much content really is out there and how much content that they can actually enjoy, and they're going to stick with some of these services. And you're going to start to see people who are maybe only subscribed to 1 or 2 services suddenly subscribe to 3 or 4 because there's just more content that they have available to them that they know is out there.
Yeah, I was just a little bit concerned with just given that it's a 1 month free service. I mean, 1 month is pretty huge. Usually it's like a week or a 14-day trial, a 2-week trial. That's kind of like the usual, the normal. And I get that, people are staying home more right now and give it everything. But 1 month just at first glance seemed a little like, whoa, that's a little bit extreme. But when you think about it, yeah, it makes sense. I'm very curious about how CBS All Access's numbers will be after next month and then the next 2 to 3 months. When presumably people will get back out more in society and stuff like that. But I was just kind of curious on your take, given that it's 1 month and they just ended Picard. They're kind of like one of the biggest series that they've kind of launched on their service. And you watch all that, you binge everything. Okay, well, then what do you do now? And so, well, what are you going to watch on the show? Because, they might get some new stuff coming in, but none of like the big names are going to be releasing anytime soon.
Yeah, so. I think that, don't get me wrong. I think a month is a long time, but I think that there's only 2 explanations behind that length of time, which is either A, they really believe that they have enough content where there's no one who's going to be able to get through the vast majority of content. There's always going to be enough out there for them to see, which I'm skeptical about. But the other side of it is the choice B is they're looking at it as more of like a goodwill gesture to everybody who's in the situation that is outside of their normal situation. And they're looking at it as, hey, come check us out. We've got your back. We're going to give you a free month to check out our service. And I think they're probably playing more in the goodwill terms of doing it more than we have so much content that there's no way you're going to be able to watch it within a month.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so Apple TV Plus, we have no new news. As far as Disney Plus goes, there was some news that just came up earlier today. As we mentioned just last week, Plus was supposed to launch in India on March 29th, but for whatever reason, they delayed it. And a lot of the belief in the articles that we talked about last week was because of its connection with Hotstar and the fact that cricket is really big with Hotstar, but the cricket is completely, the cricket leagues are completely shut down because of everything happening with COVID-19. However, it seems like that might not have been entirely the case, or they were just waiting for something else to fall into place, because as it turns out, March 29th, which was just a couple of days ago, now we've gotten word that Disney Plus is actually officially going to be launching in India on April 3rd, and that's less than a week after it was supposed to. So it's not even that big of a delay, and they announced a number of different things as far as pricing and tiers. Basically, they've decided that they're going to rename Hotstar Disney Plus Hotstar, and that is because they're including, they're combining the two services together and offering a bunch of different things, including different pricing tiers. So there's a new iteration will feature Disney Plus content, including originals such as The Mandalorian, a variety of different movies. The different tiers there's going to be 3 different pricing options. Disney Plus Hotstar VIP, Disney Plus Hotstar Premium, and ad-supported basic tier will be available as well. Hotstar VIP will be priced at, and I'm not joking when I say this, $5.30 per year, and that will include Marvel movies, animated films such as Frozen 2 and Toy Story 4, and then a variety of Bollywood films, and will also feature a variety of different language options as well. Hotstar Premium is $19.90 per year and will unlock the Disney original series like The Mandalorian, High School Musical, and a bunch of other stuff, but it will also include US shows from HBO, Fox, and Showtime, which are only, I guess premium, because I'm guessing the idea is that with the addition of Disney Plus, they're treating it as if it's a premium channel similar to HBO or Showtime, where you will get those original shows from the service with that option. Now, price point wise, and we've talked about this before, price points are going to vary in different regions based off of the economy and those things. But I got to say, $19.90 a year for HBO, Showtime, Fox, all the Disney Plus shows, as well as all kinds of other content that Hotstar offers, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're describing this, and I think it's better described as it's not really Disney Plus as we know it. It's really something more. And yep. I know that they keep saying it's Disney Plus. Well, no, they're bringing in the catalog of Disney Plus and merging it with the catalog and all the offerings of Hotstar together to create something new. So it's not really, when you think about a Disney Plus, it's really kind of a weird amalgamation of two different things. It's really, they're trying to leverage Hotstar and then add Disney Plus content with it. So I was reading the press release of it, and I was just like, wow, this is not Disney Plus as we know it. It is really tailored for the Hotstar audience, and it makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I think Disney's doing a great job integrating Disney Plus content with Hotstar, but at the same time, it's a little, it's not misleading, but it's just different. And so I think $19.99 for, I think in India, I think it's going to be it just says some HBO shows, some Showtime shows. It doesn't say that you're getting like the full HBO or Showtime like full catalog. I mean, I might be wrong there, but from just the press release that I've read, that's what it says. And so just all that for $19.99, I know that's a lot, but I think that's going to be very expensive and very taxing on consumers. And so I think that offering is going to get a lot less than people think. But I mean, once again, people love Star Wars, so I could see people shelling out that much money for watching The Mandalorian. But do we know that if India is going to have the same type of release where they're going to release like The Mandalorian and stuff weekly and not drop it all at once?
Yeah, they haven't said anything. I would almost bank at this point that it's going to be released weekly. They'll just be obviously a week behind Europe now as well, because they're launching a week after Europe, or the majority of Europe. I can't see a reason why they would be releasing, dropping the episodes all at once. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't follow the same principle of what they're doing in Europe with that launch. So,
I agree completely. I think the next step is that we're going to see Disney kind of let Hotstar do its thing to see, okay, what is the how many people are going to sign up for Hotstar and how many people are using the Disney Plus services. And then if that goes well, I could see them, potentially tacking on like the FX library that they have for Hulu. I could see them tacking that into Hotstar, or maybe merging Hulu and a Hotstar type of integration kind of happening. I think that's not happening immediately, obviously, but I think future thinking, if Hotstar, this experiment works well, I can see a Hotstar Hulu integration sometime in the future for a different price tier. What are your thoughts on that? Just kind of speculatory for a second.
So just for the Indian market, I don't see Hulu being at all a thing that becomes a thing for the Indian market. However, if the Hotstar thing works with Disney Plus being paired with Hotstar, I definitely see them using Hulu as a method of pairing other markets when they launch internationally in other markets in the future as well. We've already talked to, Hulu has already stated that they have every intention of launching internationally in 2021, which, at this point, it's less than a year away. So it's entirely possible that some of the later regions that get Disney Plus, they could have a Hulu option. I definitely think that when Hulu does launch internationally, especially in the European market, I definitely see a situation where they offer a bundle or an offer specifically because, here in the States, Hulu existed before Disney Plus. So it was more like you were adding Disney Plus to Hulu and, for a little bit extra money when you bundle them together. However, when you get into the other regions, Disney Plus is launching there first. Hulu's going to be in a situation where they could launch as an addition to Disney Plus. And then you actually see the similar branding, how they're doing with Hotstar, where it's Disney Plus Hotstar. You could see Disney Plus Hulu, and it's just a package that you have the option of doing in certain regions. And I definitely see the European market being the one that Hulu would be going to first because of the type of content that Hulu offers on a normal basis. So as far as the Indian market goes, I don't see Hulu coming anywhere near it. I don't think it's necessary. I think that if they were going to offer some of the shows on Hulu through, in India, they would be offering them through Hotstar, because what would be the point of bringing in another service to bundle with Hotstar? I just don't see the reasoning behind it. I feel like if they were going to do anything, they could just add the shows that they have available on Hulu to Hotstar in the Indian market, specifically because they already have Hotstar there, and because it's such a big existing service. It doesn't make any sense to disrupt that with another service that offers a similar situation.
Yeah, I could see them adding the FX on Hulu. I can see them adding that as a channel, as they do currently, like HBO and Showtime with Hotstar. In my head, that's how I see them rolling in Hulu, but we don't know what the future. But that's kind of, if this Disney Plus Hotstar experiment goes well, I could see them adding in Hulu originals as a special channel, some special area within Hotstar, but keep it under the Hotstar brand. So
yep. All right. So that was Disney Plus. Jumping over to Quibi, there's just one thing that popped up. There was an interview with Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is one of the two main executives behind the company. He deals with the creative side of things. I'm not going to cover everything in this interview because honestly you should check it out yourself. It's a really good interview to begin with, but the one thing is that I want to specifically talk about is he was specifically asked multiple different questions. How has the launch of Quibi changed based off of everything that's currently happening in the world today with COVID-19, people having to stay at home and things like that? And he specifically said that for the most part, nothing's really changed. They did, however, one of their main reasons as to why they offered a 90-day free trial was because they realized that there was going to be people with more time on their hands, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. More people with more time on their hands offer an extended trial. We just talked about that with CBS All Access. Although 90 days, I think that's more of the reason why it's such a long period of time for Quibi, however, is because it's going to take time for you to really absorb some of that content that releases on a weekly basis or a daily basis for certain things. So I think that's the reason why it's 90 days. But some of the other things were brought up was like they were asking, how does the current production halt with everything going on with COVID-19? How does that affect what Quibi's doing? And it was really interesting because he basically said they were doing rehearsals for a lot of these daily essential shows, which is making up the bulk of their programming that they're actually doing. And the daily essentials are exactly what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be releasing every single day with current events related to sports, weather, news, things like that. And he specifically said, like, they were in the process of doing rehearsals and things like that when all of this happened. And they basically had to come up with new ways of doing the show within a more contained environment, so that way they could still produce the show and have it releasing every single day, but maintain social distancing and other issues that they have to deal with because of everything going on with COVID-19. There was also another comment that was asked, specifically they were asked, have they considered launching a smart TV app as a result of more people being home? He very, very abruptly said, no, it is not designed for TV. It's unique on the phone. Our technology has been created and patented for this. This makes watching it on the phone beautiful. It's special. I can't stand a TV on its side. So, if you ever think Quibi is going to come to a television, I'm telling you right now, it will never come to a television. Which is... now, this is the thing I want to talk to you about. So, the idea of it not being on television, we've already talked about how that's kind of a missed opportunity for people, because not everybody's going to want to sit there and watch it. They do ask him in the interview, do you think that with everybody staying home, it means that more people are going to be less interested in Quibi, because the entire intent of Quibi is quick episodes that you watch on the go while you're sitting on the subway, or you're standing in line at Starbucks, or you're doing this or you're doing that, like quick moments. And he specifically said, I think quick moments still brief moments still exist to absorb content, but they're just happening in different ways. In between entertaining yourself and cooking dinner or watching your kids or whatever, you still have moments of time that you can still check out some of this stuff on Quibi. And I don't disagree with that, but I think that less people are inclined to watch their phones while they're in their house. And that is something that I think is going to be a problem, especially right now. More people are trying to watch, we're here, everything we hear is streaming's on the rise. Everyone's watching streaming. Everybody's watching more content while they're at home. How many of those people are actually watching content on their phones while they're at home? On the go makes perfect sense. Not going to discredit for what they were trying to accomplish. But right now, presently, in the current situation that we are in as a country and as in the world, I don't see how Quibi fits within the confines of what's going on.
To be the counterpoint, Quibi's audience is of a different demographic, their target audience, and many of the people in their target audience do watch stuff on their phone. I mean, they will sit in front of their phone while other TV is going on and will watch a TV show or YouTube video or a Snapchat or TikTok right as other people are. I'm just imagining, like, my two nieces right now, we were watching something on the big TV, it's like 60 inches, and they were pulling out their phones watching something on like Instagram, and I'm like, what is going on? You have this big beautiful TV, why aren't you going to watch it? And they're like, well, we just aren't interested in that, and they were watching something else on their phones. And so I think, given that their demographic is specifically younger, like 18 to 44, that's what the platform was, I think given that demographic, some of your concerns might be mitigated just because of how people will watch the television, watch the programming. Now, I do agree with you, though, that I think it's a little bit, if you were to launch a streaming service for people to watch on the go, and you launch it during a time where people are meant to stay at home and not really be on the go, I think it's a little bit poor timing, and I think that they're not going to do as well as they would want to. But I think given their target demographic and given everything, I think that they're going to be fine. I think that if they had an ad-supported version, they'd be even just better, and that's a different discussion I could talk about. But given that their demographic is who they is, I don't see that concern necessarily of having a set-top box. I think the one thing, though, is I wonder if they have an iPad app, just because, or a tablet app, just because you can do that, like, the portrait to landscape mode, but it's a little bit bigger. But otherwise, I think that some of your concerns are going to be mitigated just because of who their demographic is. It's geared for younger people who will, in the middle of watching something else, will pull out their phones and watch it. So,
well, we'll see.
Come back in a few episodes and being like, all right, I owe you like $5 or something.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest. I mean, I don't know that a couple episodes from now or even a month from now it'll be different. I mean, the thing is, there are definitely people who are going to sign up because of the free trial. 90 days is a long time, and conveniently 90 days from April is going to bring us, into July, and if that brings us into July, that means any sort of results, which they don't have, they're not a public company, so they're not going to have posted results, but I'm sure we'll hear something about subscribers, but the problem is they're going to be inflated because of those 90-day free trials. I mean, there's lots of people who are going to sign up and not even think about it for 3 months because they've got 3 months. So we'll see what happens with the company. I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of skepticism about Quibi since the very beginning because I just don't know if it's a feasible thing long term. I think that it will serve an audience. I just don't know if the audience is big enough for them to maintain this massive amount of content that they're looking to create. So we'll definitely see. All right, so outside of Quibi, HBO Max, there was no news. Peacock is actually going to be our secondary discussion related to some stuff having to do with them. However, for some niche streaming services, there was a couple. First up, MGM has launched a streaming service in South Africa. Not a whole lot of news here other than they're offering some of their films. We'll see if that ends up as a test in South Africa and then they expand to some other areas of the world. But more specifically, and it kind of goes in line with Quibi, there is a new company called Ficto which already launched, and they're offering content in a very, very similar style to Quibi. They have short form content that they're offering that includes interactive dramas, film adaptations, comedies, documentaries, talk shows, game shows, and news. It's available on iOS and Android. It's almost exactly the same in very similar situations than Quibi. The difference, however, is the streaming service, and it doesn't have a paywall. It's completely ad-supported, and you don't have to have any sort of membership in order to actually use the service.
Well, and unlike Quibi, they have had next to no marketing. I've never heard of this service until reading this reading this link for the show notes. Just I have no clue who Ficto is and no information, whereas Quibi is basically the opposite, where the marketing's great. Hey, here are the CEOs. Here is this Katzenberg interview that's in Deadline, really big place. Hey, look at us, watch us. Versus Ficto, it's like, yeah, we're here. Surprise. Wow, I have no clue what this company is. But I mean, hey, they're offering this ad-supported version, and I don't know, Dustin has been wanting Quibi for a long time to get on the ad-supported thing, so maybe Ficto will just crush Quibi at the end of the day, but that's more of a joke.
Yeah,
Right, so are they... So Quibi is really all about the portrait to landscape to portrait type content part. That's their defining technology piece. Is Ficto doing any of that, or is it just that they're just launching mobile first content, but they're not doing that portrait to landscape flip thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So what they specifically say that they offer is that they offer live streaming, geolocation, live chat, polling, choice-based narratives, 360 viewing, augmented reality, and then click-through e-commerce. That's what they say that they're offering. Some of that stuff is things that are very similar to, not similar, but some of the stuff is things that Quibi has talked about. As far as geolocation, we've talked about how Steven Spielberg is going to have a show called After the Dark, where based off your geolocation, you will be able to watch a new episode after it actually gets dark where you are presently located. So there's things like that, but some of the stuff is different. Like augmented reality is something that that Quibi has not talked about at all. The most important part of this is that they announced that they have a partnership with Niantic, which is the company, the video game developer behind a variety of different augmented reality games that are very popular, such as Ingress, Pokemon Go. There's a Harry Potter one called Wizards Unite, and they're looking at creating gameplay-focused series around these augmented reality games. Specifically, they're starting out with Ingress. So the thing is, they're definitely offering some other options that are not at Quibi. So they're definitely not just doing it's not a copycat of Quibi in the sense of, well, you can tilt your phone and see different viewpoints or whatever. It's not that at all. It's definitely more of a trying to be interactive. It seems to be the case, and Quibi shows are not interactive in any way other than you can tip your screen a different direction to see different things. And that's the thing. That's what Quibi's thing is the portrait to landscape. So I guess and I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, obviously Ficto is going to overthrow Quibi. Let's be honest. Ficto says that they have a slate of 30 shows at launch compared to Quibi's, which is like over 50, and they have a ton of daily shows. Ficto says that their series are going to run from 3 to 10 episodes apiece, and they've got another 20 shows in production. Quibi's got 8,500 episodes that they're planning for their first year of being, from launch. So they're not even remotely the same. I mean, if anything, some of the technology that Ficto uses, maybe Quibi buys Ficto down the line, and then they start using some of the technology that Ficto's using for some of their series down the line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that they're going to let Ficto run and then buy them, not really for their content, but for their tech advances, buy them for the technology that they have expertise in, augmented reality TV shows and stuff like that. So that's, to me, their future is to be bought by either Quibi or another player. But I was like, oh, hey, Ficto, you're going to be bought soon. So there you go.
All right. So that is all of the news. Our main discussion is going to be a discussion that was actually submitted to us from a listener whose name is Alan. He sent us a message that said, I think a great topic for a future show would be discussing the merits of advertising versus subscriber-based business models. So conveniently, he sent this email in at the end of February, and we've been working on trying to get some articles for references and things like that, so to basically have points to talk about. And conveniently, we were going to do this about 2 weeks ago before everything changed with COVID-19 here in the United States. And conveniently, because we held this off for as long as we did, there was actually 2 new articles that popped up just this past week that are going to help a lot of help sort out some of the differences between the two that we're going to have. So all of these articles are in the show notes, but basically the main article that we're talking about is actually from a couple years back. It's from 2017, and it was posted on medium.com. It's talking about the rise of subscriptions and the fall of advertising. Now, specifically in relation to streaming, which is the thing that it focuses on, it uses a bunch of other examples that exist in the world as to why advertising has been on the downfall while subscriber rates have been higher up. And it starts with newspapers, because newspapers as a whole were all about advertising. They'd have tons of advertisements in them, and subscribers would pay for the newspaper, but nothing would change. You'd still have all those advertisement slots. However, as time progresses, you start to see paywalls where you see people saying, pay a certain amount of money and we'll give you this content. That was more in line with the dawn of the internet and things like that, offering content exclusively to people who are paying, and you might still have ads like newspapers. However, there's been plenty of services out there that, once you pay the money, the ads go away. A good example is Pandora. Pandora is a service that you can listen to with ads every couple songs, or if you pay, you get rid of the ads. And that was their entire model for a really long time. And that model has been used by a variety of other places, but more specifically in relation to streaming services, they've kind of all gone in the same direction for a very long period of time. Netflix, Prime Video, every single one of those was all subscriber-based, and the difference, of course, between subscriber-based and an advertising-based is the amount of money you have coming in. I should front this by saying this is my personal opinion. When you look at a company that is solely subscriber-based compared to a company that has subscriber-based but also has advertising on it, when you compare like a service like Netflix or CBS All Access, they offer content that you're either paying to watch and with no ads, or you're paying to watch with ads or pay a little bit more and you don't have the ads. There's a lot of different services now that are sprouting up. You've got CBS All Access, which launched with multiple tiers, one with an ad-supported tier. You've got services like Peacock that will offer a free tier that is completely ad-supported. You've got other services like HBO, which does not have any ads, but has talked about how in the future they have looked at the possibility of having an ad-supported version of the app down the line. The reality of it is, a lot of these services that start with the difference to me is when a service starts and they're solely based on subscribers and the amount of subscribers that they have to have a lot of money up front in order to fund them until they can get to any sort of break-even point. And in some cases, that could be a very, very long way out. You look at Netflix as a company, and they've never had ads whatsoever. However, they have a subscriber base that has grown and grown and grown, but yet even with all the money that they bring in from their 150 million plus subscribers that they have, they don't break even because of the amount of money that they're spending on content. They still have to have money coming in on other avenues, whether it be selling off, basically like what Tony was talking about last episode, the equivalent to a junk bond. Basically, that's how they're funding a lot of what they're doing, is because they're still trying to get to a point where the amount of subscribers can actually fully fund what they're doing. You look at a lot of the services that are currently launching or recently launched, like Disney Plus or HBO Max or Peacock. A lot of their focus when they talk about what their plans are is, we're going to launch, we're going to eat the cost of the service for the first couple of years, and our break-even point is going to be at like year 5, year 6, year 4, depending on which service it is. You've got other services like Peacock, which are very, very highly focused on the fact that they're trying to push the ad-supported version. They've got a free version, they've got the ad-supported one, and they've got the premium that doesn't have any ads. However, the one that they're really focusing on is the middle one, because they can get money from both avenues. They can get the money from a subscriber and offer additional content, but they can also get money from an advertiser and do that. Quibi's doing the exact same thing. You've got content there. Everyone's going to be paying for Quibi that subscribes to the service. But if you have the ad supported, you can also bring in money from those ads. And the thing is, which model is the best is going to depend on how much money and how long you can last. That's ultimately what it is. I think a lot of these services, they specifically focus on trying to get out the gate with subscribers, but they realize that it's going to be very difficult to get to a certain level of subscribers without running out of money or getting to a point where their stockholders are going to start questioning their decision to do this in the first place. You know, you look at HBO Max, and they're launching without any ads initially, and their goal is to get to a break-even point in like year 5. But they also understand that in order to keep having the money to keep going, they need to bring in other money. So that's why they've already said that they're looking at an advertising model in the future. So I think ultimately it comes down to these newer companies that are starting services. They're not solely a streaming service. Netflix is solely a streaming service. They have the ones that are not solely a streaming service. They have other things that are part of their business. They cannot just keep dumping money into something without any sort of return. They need a return on their investment into a service in order to warrant to their stockholders, hey, we're doing this. How can we make this profitable for you as a stockholder? So that's the big difference, I think, between the two, is that you've got companies like Netflix, and Netflix is really outside of the norm of everybody else because there's not really anybody else that's even remotely similar. You've got Amazon that has Prime Video, but they're funding Prime Video for memberships that have very little to do with the amount of content they're producing. It has to do more with the amount of money that they're making from the other side of their businesses. So there's that. There's also the whole other thing of, you looking at who is more likely to purchase these different versions. But before I get to that, I wanted to get your take on whether or not you think, or which one do you think is a better model in your opinion?
I think this is a great question, and I think that this is like crucial to the quote-unquote streaming wars, is what is the best way to fund content. And you have advertising, you have to deal with advertisers and third parties and trying to get people to click through rates and really pay attention to the ads and stuff like that. Where subscribers, you're just trying to focus to keep them on your platform. And I think subscribers, subscription based, is just going to be easier at the end of the day, just because you don't have to worry about another person. All the company has to worry about is creating content to keep you engaged on their service. That's it. It is to keep you engaged on their service. Now, if you're going to have advertising, you now have to create an experience where you have to stay on their service and you have to interact with the ads. And there's no like easy in an easy way to access the advertising content. Like, what is the easy way if you see an advertiser for, I guess, Target on, one of these ad supported networks, how are you going to be able to get to, let's just say, Target's website? Like, what is the easy way, UI way to do that? And now you're kind of beholden to these advertisers, and you have to keep them in mind in terms of planning, content based. You don't want to upset certain advertisers, because what if one of your shows, for some reason, morally doesn't fit with one of your advertisers, and you have to deal with that, and just you track user content, user data, and just a whole bunch of mess that happens with advertising. And so I think subscription based is just going to be easier at the end of the day. However, when you look at, in my head, I'm thinking of like, okay, you have Netflix, the king of subscription-based content. Then you got like YouTube, the king of ad-supported content. And they're kind of the two big dogs in terms of like streaming video. And no matter how you play it, like YouTube and, Netflix are the kings of their respective domains of advertising and subscriptions. And, which one is better? Well, I think it's interesting when you look at how things are. Advertising is really good. I will not say really good. Advertising seems to really show up on the mobile side very well, because you can show like a 15-second clip of somebody, of some ad, and kind of get going with your life. That's kind of easy. That interface is simple. It's a touch screen on your phone, stuff like that. Whereas in, Netflix, you have Netflix on your phones, you have Netflix on your TVs, your set-top boxes, in the TVs, in computers. And it's like, well, what's an easy interface for advertising there? Well, there's not really an easy one, and subscription makes sense. And the type of content is totally different. I think subscription is, the king in terms of streaming like classic TV shows and movies. I think you can have the best premium experience. And I think as a test example, we've seen that with like HBO and Showtime and services like that, where it is you pay for that content and you get it. And yeah, you might have like a couple ads, but those are for like HBO services. I'm thinking of when I watched Game of Thrones and had to sit through a commercial for Chernobyl. Like, that doesn't really count. You know what I mean? And so I think for the premium side, I think subscription is better. Now, if you just want content, or you want to play like reruns of Friends or The Office or something like that, then having an ad-supported network, putting those shows on there, those are really bingeable. I think that's a smart idea. So I think that there's pros and cons to both. I think that the market will embrace both options. I don't think it's going to be an either or. I think a lot of times we love the idea of the war, of who's going to win, which one's better. And I think that there's room for both. But I think that you can't dominate the market, I think, if you just use one or the other. I think that if you really want to get all consumers, you need to have a mix of your offerings, because when the research, it shows that, older people really prefer subscription-based models, and then younger people really don't mind sitting through ads. And now that doesn't mean that one person likes subscription or ad based or even more, but it's just like, who's willing to sit through an ad? And it, just the research says the older people really tend to not have the patience really just to sit through ads, which makes sense. So if you want to get the broad demographic, it makes sense to have both offerings, but it's basically gonna, not really take a side and say like both matter, both are important. And if you want to have a good business, you should probably have both. But it also comes down to like, if you're good at something, like keep doing it. For Netflix, like they've been king of subscription, and it's like they haven't really needed a change. They corner the market. Like, why should they really adapt themselves? But for some of these new players, they will have to try and experiment. So it's just a lot to think about, and it's not as easy when you first think about it. I was doing research for the show. I was like, yeah, this could be kind of simple. I think subscriptions could be better. But when you really kind of get in the nitty gritty, it's like, ooh, like advertising does make sense in certain scenarios, whereas in subscription based doesn't. Like, it really is tentative to what are the business goals and what is the company really trying to do. So it's a hard question. It's a really hard question.
And I definitely agree in the sense of there is room for both. Personally, which do I prefer? I would prefer to pay the little extra money for no ads. That's just me personally. But I understand from a business perspective that is not how the vast majority of people are going to necessarily go the route of. Obviously, when you only have one option, like Netflix has one option as far as you are only going to pay for a subscription and you will not have ads, you're going to, there's not really a decision. It's more specific, the best numbers, and I wish I had finer numbers on this, but like if you compare, you looked at like Hulu and you look at their ad supported offering versus their premium offering with no ads, or or you look at CBS All Access, or eventually when we get further down the line with Peacock, I think that would be really good comparison. But you don't really hear a lot of that talk most of the time because it's just about how many overall subscribers you have, not how much subscribers are per tier, things like that. So the vast majority of the older group, which is anybody above the age of 44, they're twice as likely to pay for a subscription than to sit through ads. And they're less likely to look for a service that actually has an ad-supported version because that's not something they're looking for. However, in the article that we have in the show notes, it does say that 18 to 24-year-olds are much more likely to have no problem sitting through ads. This is all stuff that Tony pointed out when he was talking, but I'm just reiterating some of this. The younger the audience, the more likely they are to sit through the ads. Now, if you look at a situation like Quibi, they're looking at their service being geared towards 18 to 40-year-old people. That means and if you honestly look at the slate of content they have, the vast majority of the content that they have is geared, in fact, for, I would say, under 30, maybe 34, 18 to 34 is probably the better demographic that a lot of their content skews towards. That means that ad-supported tier that they are offering makes perfect sense for them because they'll still pay for a service and sit through ads because they're getting exclusive content that they can't get anywhere else. Now, who's going to be paying the more money? Probably not as many. So it's important for them to have that ad-supported version that still collects a subscription fee because that's where the vast majority of people are. They're going to save some money by not subscribing to the more expensive option. That's not, however, how the older audience skews. So that's going to be important to why a lot of their content is skewing specifically 18 to 44-year-old people. So it's one of those things where it's just one thing to keep in mind. Now, obviously, there's a whole other side of this, which is not necessarily something that it's timely to mention, but it's not something that's going to long-term be a concern. You've got services that don't offer an ad-supported version at all, and you get into a situation where we are now where there's lots of people who are currently laid off. They're not working. They're not making the normal amount of money. And one of the first things that you cut when you don't have a bunch of disposable income is these extra things like entertainment aspects of your life, which means you could be cutting streaming services. So Netflix could potentially be cut before a service like, CBS All Access that offers an ad-supported version for less money. And yes, you might not have all of the content or the content that Netflix offers, but you'll still have content for a lower price. And I think that ultimately is what a lot of these companies, especially the ones that are launching now and looking to compete with Netflix long term, offering a less expensive option is their way of directly competing with Netflix, even if they don't have the amount of content that Netflix has, because they can offer that lower price point and they can still bring in money from the ads.
No, I agree. I think for content producers, it really just depends on who's going to be their master. Is it going to be just the subscribers themselves, or do you have to also entertain advertisers and making sure that you want to have advertisers in that too, that you implement an easy way for people to interact with the advertisers on your platform? And it's like, who are you going to be beholden to, users or the users plus the advertisers? Obviously, it's good to diversify your business, but I think from like organizational point of view and from just a strategic point of view, it's much easier just to deal with the subscription based. And yeah, you might have ups and downs in the market, and then it's going to really suck in terms of like COVID-19, situations, pandemics, where you have to cut unnecessary spending sometimes, but you're not beholden to advertisers and making sure that they're happy, that you're courting them, that you're making UI changes, interface changes that just aren't really good for the user, but really are just meant to just drive traffic. Your goal is to really have a great user experience instead of driving traffic for your advertisers. So who you're going to be beholden to, who's going to be your master. And that's why I think subscription based is going to be better overall for content producers. But at the end of the day, you do need to diversify your business. And that's what this conversation is hard to have, because it makes sense to have both. Although I do personally enjoy subscription based, even if that means I have to pony up a little bit extra. So it's a tough conversation, but I agree with everything that you said.
All right. So there's lots of other parts of this conversation that we could have went on and on about, but I'm going to leave it to you to look at the articles as you are looking through our show notes and check it out, because there's a lot more details, specifically the article on medium.com from a couple of years back. That article specifically deals a lot more with advertising versus subscription-based for not just streaming, but a variety of other things, and showing why advertising is on the downfall. But I think it's important to also look at some of those other articles that we included, because the reality of it is, while it is on the downfall overall, there's still money to be coming. There's still money that you can be bringing in as a company on a consistent basis, and sometimes that's better than relying on projections for how many subscribers you have, especially when you're launching. So definitely check that out. All right, so we're going to jump into our secondary discussion, which is, this is going to be brief because we're running a little bit later than I anticipated, but I do want to get to this because it is extremely timely. Now, on the last episode, I specifically brought up Peacock and how last week, right before we recorded, it was announced that the Olympics were officially postponed until 2021. And I said at the very end of the episode, I guarantee you within the next week we're going to hear something from Peacock, because they were relying very, very heavily on the fact that they were launching alongside the Olympics this summer. They were launching on a kind of like a beta trial for Comcast and Cox customers in April, but then they announced that they were rolling out nationally with the Olympics in July. Now, obviously, the Olympics have been postponed an entire year, but what does that mean for Peacock? So officially, Peacock is still launching in July as planned. Nothing has changed in that regard. However, they obviously don't have the marketing boost that they would have had with the Olympics. However, next year, maybe they'll have a boost because they'll still have a ton of content. However, it's kind of interesting because it seems like analysts are very split on the good and the bad of this situation. So, specifically, the Washington Post said they were kind of in the middle. They said that the unsuspecting target for the Olympics being canceled or delayed was Peacock, saying that Peacock's kind of in a bad position, but they're not down and out. However, the Hollywood Reporter went on to say that the vast library that Peacock will have is going to help them succeed regardless of the fact that they don't have the Olympics. To just counter that argument, one of the two of the main series that I think a lot of people are looking forward to on Peacock would be The Office and Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec isn't actually going to be on the service until October because it's currently on Netflix through October of 2020. And The Office isn't going to be on Peacock until January of 2021 because of a similar deal that currently is happening with Netflix. So I do want to point out, like, I don't know if the Hollywood Reporter just didn't realize that there's certain shows that NBC has been using as their, to their advantage of marketing Peacock that aren't going to actually be available because their focus was obviously going to be on the Olympics. However, they will have the massive library for Saturday Night Live and a variety of other shows. It's just, I think the shows that are very, very, very highly sought after are not shows that are going to be on Peacock right away. So just have to point that out. Variety said that the Olympics basically have plucked the feathers out of Peacock because they're screwed. Then the Motley Fool, they post an article saying that social distancing is great for HBO because their numbers are going up. Peacock, on the other hand, they're absolutely screwed. They actually went so far to say, don't bother signing up for Peacock until 2021. So we talked about this last episode. Peacock's in a kind of a precarious situation. They're still going to launch. It's not as if they're not, but it is going to be a situation where, because they don't have all that Olympic coverage, all that Olympic content, because of the delay of the games for an entire year, it does present a massive problem for Peacock as a service because, like I said last episode, I don't think they're going to have enough content, original content, to really warrant people signing up right away, because that's not what they were looking at initially. We've heard, they've obviously got some original shows that they've had in production, but the vast majority of that presentation was focusing on the Olympics and what they were doing alongside the Olympics happening this year. So I think they're in a bad spot because they don't have their top tier shows as far as The Office, Parks and Rec. There's other shows that I think people would expect them to have that they're not going to have either. Other shows that were on NBC. There was this big push, the marketing push at the beginning of the 2019-2020 television season where Peacock was, or not Peacock, but NBC was pushing this idea that Peacock is associated with comedy and NBC is known for great comedies. But if you actually look at the best comedies on NBC or the highest rated ones, you've got Seinfeld in the 90s, you've got Friends in the 2000s, you've got The Office, Parks and Rec. Friends is on HBO Max, Seinfeld's going over to Netflix, you've got Parks and Rec and Office, which will be on Peacock just in a later time. Doesn't exactly bode well for Peacock. It's unfortunate. Obviously the Olympic stuff could have given a boost in the very beginning, and then ultimately Parks and Rec would have came, more originals launch in the fall, and then The Office comes in January. But it's going to be a really bad uphill battle for Peacock, I think.
I agreed. And the more you were telling me about some of these shows that they're not having until early next year, at least, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not interested now in the service even more, as you say, just because it's not having my favorites. I get that they just got bit by bad timing. This is what happens sometimes when you launch a business and you launch a new product line, is that you will have situations outside your control, and worldwide pandemic kind of it tops the list of things that you can't control, and it cancels the Olympics, it cancels one of the biggest events of the year, of almost every 4 years, so you're losing out a lot of viewership, a lot of people just checking out, and advertising revenue and stuff like that. So it really stinks for Peacock, and Peacock just got bit really bad in the butt. So it stinks for them, and just the way how these deals all lined out. They couldn't have foreseen the situation they were trying to get in the game, and their biggest prizes will come later in 2020 or 2021, and that's just the bed that they made, so they have to live in it. So I wish them the best, and they were really looking promising for a little bit, and hopefully that they could treat this kind of as a soft launch, and then maybe early 2021 really kind of maybe not do like a rebranding, but kind of like a little bit of a relaunch to really push new features and new content and stuff like that. But this will only force NBC and Comcast to really focus on new original content, given that they can't have their the two selling items. They don't have them right now, and so I can really see this situation really forcing NBC and Comcast executives to be like, hey, we should really focus on more original content, and we'll probably see some new announcements coming out soon about that. But then you got social distancing guidelines, and maybe they can't show up to work, so you have that as well. Overall, this really stinks for Peacock and for people who love the Olympics, but at least they will get them next year. It's been postponed a year, and we'll see how that goes, but it really stinks for Peacock.
It's not a good spot for them at all. And the only other thing that I could think of is maybe Comcast, and I don't know if they are even able to do this at this point in time, because honestly this is not exactly the best time to be spending money. Let's just say hypothetically, because of the lack of the Olympics and the fact that some of their big name shows that they were banking on that they've been using for marketing but aren't going to be available until later on. Let's say they go on a spending spree and they start trying to scoop up rights for shows to add to the service specifically in hope that it'll bring some more people in. I don't know that that's even feasible at this point because, well, one, Comcast is buying, they're selling debt right now too, because all the entertainment companies are hurting right now. So I don't even know that that's possible at all. And I honestly, there's not that many shows out there that aren't already locked into deals elsewhere. Seinfeld was the one that I think was a possibility, but that's just not possible now either, because that one got locked up too. So, you move down to, I guess, the second tier stuff, and I don't know that it would be worth spending a ton of money on some of that stuff either. So we'll wait and see. Obviously, we're going to be covering Peacock. As you said, I imagine we probably will be hearing some more content announcements in the very near future, because they probably will need to ramp up the amount of content they have, because they just can't afford to not have more original content, because there won't be anything to draw people in at least until October, January. So we'll see. All right, so even though there wasn't a ton of news, there is, however, an insane amount of trailers. I am not joking when I say this. There were more trailers in the past week than I think there has been on any other episode that we've ever done. Even episodes where we've covered 2 or 3 weeks, like when we had the break for the holidays, I think that we didn't even have this many trailers. So there's a lot of trailers. A lot of the stuff is stuff that's releasing on Quibi, because Quibi is obviously right around the corner for releasing, but there's a lot of content coming out. Definitely check out some of the trailers that are in the show notes. If you're listening to this on YouTube, the show notes don't have all the trailers, but you can head over to our website, thestreamingwars.io, and check out the show notes for all the links to the trailers that have released in the past week. With all of that being said, I want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and join our Discord for all the latest articles that we talk about here on the podcast, and even some that we do not. Follow us on Instagram for all the latest announcements related to new episodes of the podcast releasing. You can send us an email at thestreamingwars@gmail.com. You can visit our website, thestreamingwars.io. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please get in touch with us by leaving feedback either wherever you're listening to this podcast, or send us an email, as I mentioned. So with all of that being said, for Tony and myself, this has been The Streaming Wars. Continue to stay safe out there.
Thanks for listening to The Streaming Wars. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram. Also consider supporting us on Patreon. Links can be found at thestreamingwars.io.